Hello there, wellness entrepreneur. Welcome back. I'm recording the day after Mother's Day. If you're a mom, if you celebrate, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. The McLeans, my mom is actually in town. So we had a wonderful weekend the day before she wasn't here. So we just did some adventures, just the McLeans only. But then she came into town and we had a beautiful brunch by the ocean, one of my favorites. And then we went to her timeshare and spent the day and the evening by the pool, which was super fun. Very replenishing. I love me some sun time and hanging out with mom, partner, and daughter time. So it was really fun. But this week's episode, I want to start with three numbers. And then I want to tell you about the night my body finally said no. Now, one of my clients, she recently told me on a call, and I'm going to keep her name private. And I have a lot of clients that feel this way. They want to hit big revenue goals, but money isn't everything for them. They really are in it to help the people. So sometimes when I talk a lot about money goals, they want to make sure that their clients and patients know that the reason why they're really in it is to help them. And also for themselves, privately, they do have big money goals, and that is completely acceptable and valid in too. But just to honor that, I'll keep her name private. But one of my clients has hit $14,000 every single month this year, except one. And it was close, that one. Without sending an email in over 30 days, without posting consistently on social media. However, she has been posting more. In her own words, she says that revenue amount, $14,000, is not even like hard. And I have another client that just crossed last year and has been consistent at staying at the revenue amount that equates to her hitting $100,000 years or six-figure years. And with hitting six-figure years, which she didn't do prior to coming to me, she is actually working a lot less than what she used to. Her words. Her husband even poked her last week and said, "When are you going to make that 200K?" And she lit up. And we created a plan for her 200K goal. In fact, both of these clients are on track to hit multiple six figures. And I have another client, she fixed one piece of broken tech, stayed up until 1 in the morning to do it, which I don't recommend, but once in a while it happens. I don't know, actually, truthfully, the last time I've stayed up till 1 a.m. just because for me, I just have a hard time with that. But I do overwork in other ways on occasion. I think sometimes we just get into that pattern. It becomes more of a problem when it is a pattern and leading to burnout. But once in a while, okay, we do it. But then the next day, she had 6 people downloaded her freebie. And that was huge for her because she just launched it. By Friday, she had 15 new emails on her list and 5 paid signups for her program. 5 paid signups for her online program from 4 hours of work one time. And now she doesn't have to repeat it. She fixed the broken tech thing. And this is a very seasoned practitioner who was learning the tech side of things when they came to me. So let's just hold on to these three numbers, right? These three different scenarios. And I'm telling you them so you can be inspired, because this week's episode's all about the path to 10K months online without adding more hours to your schedule. Because I want to tell you about the night when I was 38 years old. So this was a bit of time ago. I'm not going to tell you the exact amount of time because I do have a birthday coming up. And as I get closer and closer to 50, some days I feel it. But one night, several years ago, I was 38 on the couch, lying on my couch here in San Diego, and I could not get up. I had just done a full day in my clinic. I had physical therapy sessions, body work sessions, sprinkled in between several yoga classes in one day. The next day was another yoga class at 6 a.m. because I was subbing someone's class, and then it was back to my clinic. That weekend, I was leading a yoga teacher training Friday night, Saturday all day, and Sunday all day. And my daughter was young. She was about 2 or 3 at the time. And the weekend before, she had said the words that I think most moms in this industry sometimes feel just wrecked and guilt, right? And I felt so much guilt and shame and devastation. She said, "Mommy, I miss you." And she said it when it was present tense. I was standing right there. And she told me, "Mommy, I go back to school on Monday and I don't see you all weekend long." At the time, she was going to preschool and we just called it school. Because the version of me she had when I was there, I was exhausted. Now, there's a caveat here. Also had cancer at the time. So I was doubly exhausted. I thought I was just really tired because I did have a 2-year old and I was owning my business, but there was a different level of fatigue for me at the time. But the truth is that I'd been feeling that fatigue. Like I can't get off the couch. I can't move for a while now. And I was always, when I was home, thinking about, okay, what am I going to teach for the next training? What am I going to do here? I have this client to respond to. I need to get this person in my schedule, and on and on and on. So sometimes, even back then, when I was home, I wasn't even present. And I remember thinking, I built this whole thing to get out of the grind of the clinic, the mill clinic, right? Because I'd been in the mill scenarios. I'd been a massage therapist. One of my first jobs in the health and wellness field was a massage therapist in a massage envy type studio. I even worked in a massage envy clinic for a bit of time. And I'd been on that grind where you barely have time to drink water or use the restroom in between clients. I'd been in the yoga teacher grind, being paid $35 an hour and racing from studio to studio, eating lunch in the car. I've been in the physical therapy, high volume insurance based grind clinic. And when I was let go of my job back in 2016, and my daughter was at the time just 3 months old, I couldn't bring myself to get back in the clinic grind where I wouldn't have control over my schedule. I wouldn't have control over my vacation. I wouldn't have control over the way that I helped other people. And I just could not put myself to do it. It didn't feel authentic to me. It didn't feel like it would break trust within myself. I just could not do it. I knew it wasn't my aligned path. So I started my business so I could have more control, freedom, and flexibility. But yet I ended up repeating a mill scenario for myself, right? There's that saying where sometimes you can be your own worst boss. I was my own worst boss. Man, I beat myself emotionally, beat myself up emotionally, mentally, physically through the schedule, the grind that I would put myself in because for me, it was a lot of scarcity mindset because I didn't have a lot of savings because I was let go of and I didn't plan to be an entrepreneur. And I had some old money stories that had been inherited down to me from my family and my pattern. So there was past money scarcity stories, there was present money more scarcity stories, making sure that, my husband and I could literally pay the bills. And all that equated to me actually making pretty good money on paper. I brought in over 6 figures for my brick and mortar clinic, but I was completely depleted in real life. And some of you may, if you've been a long time podcast listener, you might have heard that story. But I'm bringing it into a different lens this week. And sometimes just the reminder of knowing that someone else, if you're feeling anything near to this, someone else has been in your shoes. You are not alone. And I'm on the other side that it can be healed. It can change. You can have a business you love. You can have the people that you care so much about to make change and impact in their life. And you don't have to overwork to do it. So, the reason why I'm starting this episode here instead of with a clean framework or teaching frame is because I need you to understand something. I'm not the coach who's going to tell you to add a webinar to your Saturdays if you really want to be with your family. I'm not the coach who's going to tell you to start a side hustle on top of your 50-hour clinic week, unless we can figure out the way to do it where it's sustainable and you want to keep that revenue coming in so you don't go into all the scarcity and overworking that I did. So there definitely is ways to grow your business if you want to work full time and have a paycheck. I highly recommend that because that'll allow you to actually grow faster because you won't be in that scarcity mindset that I was in. I am the coach who learned the hard way that it's the model in the health and wellness business field. It's the model in the structure that's a problem, right? If you think about it, your mentors, your gurus, my mentors, my gurus as a massage therapist, as a yoga teacher, as a physical therapist, all of them overworked. All of them work 7 days a week, minimum 40 hours a week. A lot of them owned their own businesses and were doing a lot more. Right. And so we learn from it's generational. And then we have gurus saying, well, you really shouldn't, if you're doing a spiritual business or yoga business, you shouldn't get paid for that. You have people telling you shouldn't charge people to help them heal from pain. Right. So then we have all these layers of guilt and shame on top of this. And so that leads us to all these crazy working schedules and mindset problems in our business. And the reason why you feel this way is not because of your effort. It's not your work ethic. It's not your discipline. It's a broken system in the wellness industry. That's the problem, right? And you can't grind your way out of a model that is built to consume your body. Yoga, massage, Reiki energy work, right? That still takes your energy. You can only step out of it. You can only build something different. Which brings me to the framework I want to give you today. And that's what turned my one client who hits $14,000 every month, and she's on track to hit a multiple six-figure years, because sometimes she hits 18K. She's very close to hitting a 20K month, and she's not hustling. Or my other client, how she dropped hours and started hitting six-figure years at the same time, and how my last client used the last week with 4 hours of very focused work to bring in new leads in a completely new way that's never been done before for her. She's added new people to her asset, her email list, through Instagram and a freebie. That is so powerful. She doesn't have to go boots on the ground with her energy and time. Now she has a repeatable system. She could do it in her pajamas if she wanted. And I call this leverage architecture. There's 3 layers: asset, mechanism, and mirror. We're going to go through each of them one at a time. And I'm going to show you exactly what each one looks like in a reel, in a carousel, in a story, in a DM. Because if I hand you just a framework without the application, you're going to nod along and it'll be consumption. But I want you to implement so your business feels different next week. So we're going to do both at the same time. Layer 1, asset. An asset is something your expertise produces once that earns for you many times. It's repeatable. In the Mill Clinic model, you don't have assets, you have hours. You trade an hour, you get paid for an hour. You don't show up, you don't get paid. You're sick, you don't get paid. You're on vacation, you don't get paid. That is the entire ceiling. That is the entire reason your 4K months feel like a death grip, because every single dollar of that 4K is rented from your body on a 30-day lease with no renewal guarantee. My client, she had the asset, her free guide. She has a knitting and somatics niche. She helps women heal hand and wrist pain so they can keep doing a craft that they love. She built one free guide, spent 4 hours troubleshooting the upload until she got it. And then the next morning, 6 people had downloaded it. No ads, no promotion. By Friday, 15 downloads, 5 signups for her program. And that is a repeatable asset. It's a repeatable system or funnel that she can now keep doing and refining and get more people in and then convert them more into her paying program. The guide has the ability for people to keep downloading for years. I have guides, freebies, and resources that I created years ago. In fact, if you go to my website, you can visit now, igniteyourwellness.com with the UR, igniteyourwellness.com, before I switch over with the rebrand. And you can see, clean it up, and actually really simplify my website, because it's a bit overwhelming with all the free resources I created years ago that you can still download now. So if you want to go see all that now and get any of those now, go ahead. But this system goes in the background while she sleeps, while she's taking her dog on the walk, while she's at the grocery store, while she's teaching her somatic class. The 4 hours she spent is paid back monthly indefinitely. And that is why I get sometimes so passionate about on my consults and client renewals, because I know that they can pay me once. For example, if they're in the 6-month online blueprint, or if they're one-to-one, they'll pay me $2,000 for the blueprint, or 7,000 right now, 7,500 for 6 months of one-to-one. And they have the ability to create systems that bring in revenue indefinitely. And that can be repeated whether they're working with me or not. And the longer they work with me, the more systems, the more revenue, the more opportunities are available, and how it's guaranteed. Now, I'm not guaranteeing, but if you keep doing the process and refining, you will guarantee yourself that you'll make the money back and more over time, right? Because it gets faster over time. I know my first few coaching investments, the return on the revenue sometimes didn't happen in that first round. It happened in the second or even third round. And now one of my coaches I've been with for over 4 years, the return on the revenue, I get oh my gosh, the revenue I bring in is usually in month one. I'll pay for that container. And then the rest of the time is doubling down and growing and scaling. So in a reel, the asset is a thing you point to. It could be when you say comment the word guide and people are able to download your guide, and then you have a clear pathway to converting them to your program, which can be just clicking on the link to buy. It can be through a consultation. It can be through DMs. I have clients that do all of these and combinations of these, but you now have a system and an asset that does some of the heavy lifting for you, that builds some of the trust, that helps to grow your email address without you having to beg for referrals from doctors or do lunch and learns or have to talk to the front office people who gatekeep the practitioners you want to get referrals from. Layer two is the mechanism. Mechanism is the way your expertise is delivered when you are not in the room. And I want to be clear about something. This is not telehealth. I don't teach for practitioners, especially licensed practitioners, to do telehealth. The way I teach them to create their signature wellness program that is not rehab or medicine, it's more wellness and preventative based. This is not doing one-to-one Zoom sessions instead of one-to-one in-person sessions. That's just the same hourly mill clinic with worse lighting, right? A mechanism is a signature online wellness program, a group offer. Or you can do one to one, which I recommend sometimes if you have a smaller audience, but you sell a result so that you can have it, the program, for example, be 3 months long. And instead of 12 coaching calls in there, for example, there's 8. And then there's other deliverables. That again gets you out of that one-to-one time for money trait. You can have a self-paced module with a live coaching layer. You can have DM access. So you can have a group program, but they still get access to you. I do that. I offer bonuses with that for my group program. It's endless, all that you can create online. I have clients that do 6 week, $297 programs, all the way up to one-to-ones where it's 5,500 to work with a practitioner for a year. And they for sure do not get 52 sessions for that year. It's broken up in a very sustainable way. And many functional medicine practitioners do it this way where they're able to deliver many deliverables through analyzation of labs and reports and individualized protocols and lifestyle changes. Or yoga teacher, same thing. You can do deliverables of individualized sequence and protocols, and you're working through the kosha layers. Holistically helping someone to work towards a goal in their health and in their wellness. It's not just doing more sessions, right? And that is how your income can go up and your hours go down. Same expertise, just different mechanism of delivery. So for social media, you can bring this mechanism in, for example, in a pin post. So right now on Instagram, I have a couple pin posts about my offer where you can learn about who it's for, what you get, the results achieved, all kinds of things in there. And someone can just DM me or comment below and get more details. They can also just immediately book a consult through my link tree. So that is how you can start to promote your wellness program online. That's just one way. I also sell in my stories when I'm in a launch period. I sell both my one-to-one and my group program and in Instagram stories as well. And layer 3 is the mirror. And this is the one no one's teaching. So listen close here. The mirror is the proof that someone like the person reading your post, consuming your content, got the result you're promising. So that means, for example, on Instagram, I have a very popular carousel that is actually instructional and educational on how to really utilize your own testimonials and client stories, where you're not just sharing the quote, but you're actually sharing the story, the before, the after, the overview of what you did. And then the mirror is your ideal client sees that story and sees themselves in their story, in that story. They see themselves in the before, they see themselves wanting that same after. Without that mirror, you have the asset that no one's opts into and a mechanism, the program that nobody pays for, right? because the work in our industry isn't believing the practitioner is skilled. I believe, truthfully, no matter the experience, the certifications, I want to say that, and now I know there's some bad apples out there, but in my experience, and I've worked with hundreds of practitioners, I believe that every practitioner is out there to help people. No one became a health and wellness practitioner because they want to make millions and millions and millions. Yes, we want big revenue goals, but the majority of people got in it because they want to make the impact and help people. And so your work on Instagram is not proving that you're skilled and you're in it to help people, right? Because there's no differentiation from 99% of all the other practitioners out there who really feel the same as you. It's helping your audience see that the result, the health result that you help people get is possible for them. And there's so many ways to do it. You can do it through a carousel. You can tell a story through a carousel. You can tell a story through a talking head reel. You can tell a story through a B-roll reel. You can tell a story through a one slide Instagram story or multiple slide Instagram stories. And so then you're going from a generic, I help women with hormonal issues during perimenopause and menopausal, to a specific client scenario. And remember, in the past episode, I was talking about hyper specificity in your messaging. This is a way that you can really make sure that you're hyper specific and you're speaking to a real measurable result. So when a woman with endometriosis scrolls past the reel and she sees herself, she doesn't have to wonder if it'll work for her, that it's already her with that result on the screen. So the mirror is the hook and the proof. The hook stops the scroll. For example, my client came to me with severe endometriosis. 2 full cycles later, no pain, 6 weeks into the protocol. That hook stops the scroll. In a carousel, you can do slide 1, mirrors the client situation. Slides 2, walks them through slides 2 through 9, walk them through the steps of how they got there and a little bit about their story. And then at the end, then you can share that client screenshot, that client text message or the testimonial with the social proof. And that's just one example. And you might say, okay, well, Allison, it's easy for you to share your stories as a business coach because your clients are used to being marketing and promoting. But if you go back on my podcast to 60, the episodes 1 through 60, that's actually when I had my brick and mortar. And you'll see that I had a lot of my patients on the podcast. Because here's the truth. A lot of your patients and clients, they will want you to succeed. They actually love to share their story. They are so inspired and happy about their results. They want other people to feel that same way. They want other people to feel good. And they are your biggest cheerleader. They want you to succeed. Now, there are some patients and clients, especially if you work in sensitive areas of health and wellness, that might not want a lot of their details shown or maybe even their name shared. And that's fine. You can keep the story general to their specific identifying information, but you can still be specific on the circumstance. And that is the mirror. That's what your audience will relate to. So I ask, and if they say no, that's okay, say okay, or say, I'm not going to share your name or any identifying factors. Asset, mechanism, mirror, 3 layers. Once they're in place, your business starts earning when you're not in it. That's the architecture. That's the whole game. Now, I've got a free webinar coming up June 2nd. If you're not already enrolled, get registered. The link is in the show notes because I'm going to be breaking this down in even more detail. So you can replace your clinic salary, so you can work and earn 100K or beyond, like some of my clients, working from home. And you hear me say this, I love working from home. In fact, when I finish recording this here, I'm going to go make myself a fresh salad. I just hate eating food that I have to put in those containers. I love making things fresh, and then I'm going to go sit out in my garden in the sun and eat it. And that's one of the things that really lights me up. One of the reasons why I just love working from home. And here's one last thing that no one warns you about. Once this architecture is in place, you don't have to chronically be online. I talked a little bit about this in the previous episode. I know there's a story floating around online that says the only way to make money on Instagram is to constantly be live on Instagram, but that's a lie. I open the app, once a day, twice a day to check in on DMs or scroll a little bit and engage with my audience, but it's done with an intention and it's done with a boundary. I could do it once a day if I really wanted, but sometimes I just like to pop in there. When during Mother's Day weekend, I didn't check. The only thing I did on Mother's Day weekend is I saw a couple client messages that I wanted to respond to, but I just popped in for 5 minutes and then popped out. And I didn't have to do that. I just wanted to do it. So if you're feeling, well, Allison, I don't have a niche yet, so I can't build an asset. You do have a niche. You just haven't named it yet. Just pick one problem your ideal client has and make an asset around that, or a repeating pattern that your current clients keep getting stuck on or asking about, especially when they first start working with you. So it's in the beginning phase of their journey. The specificity on the problem is the niche. And if you're wondering if you package your expertise into a program, if your session by session clients will leave, some of them might, truthfully. And you can decide as the CEO if you want to keep session by session and make the program more incentivizing by having the price for the package a better deal than your drop in sessions. And that's one way how you can start to transition to a program versus session by session. Or you can be like some of my clients and just decide that you don't offer one-to-one sessions at all. I don't offer one-to-one sessions at all. But it's knowing that some of your clients will want to transition into the program because they want the result. They want the depth. They want help being held accountable. And you can help them stay more consistent within the program versus session by session where they fall off or you have to chase them down. And then it takes a while to get back in your schedule. And when you do this, you now have a tier that scales. My client that hits the $14,000 months, she still has a one-to-one practice, but it's scalable. She has contractors that also work in her program that help her. So all the work is not dependent upon her. And if you're thinking, this sounds like one more thing on top of everything I'm already doing, it's not. This system replaces all that throw spaghetti at the wall, all the amount of crazy things you're doing that's not simplified into a system or a funnel. Well, all roads, for example, lead to your program. Or the program isn't built in a way that gets you out of that time for money trade. When you do this, you actually simplify your workload. Okay, so that's what I've got for you today. I hope you love this. If you did, DM me on Instagram, or better yet, leave a review. I would love that. I do read the reviews personally, and I am looking to grow the reviews on this podcast so we can help more people. And I hope to see you in the upcoming webinar, the Replace Your In-Person Clinic Salary. It's 1 hour, it's free, and I'm walking you through this exact architecture I just gave you, plus bonus offer if you show, or bonus offer if you show up live. And then after the webinar, I'm opening the doors to the 100K online practice blueprint with some bonuses then as well, especially if you enroll by June 5th. If you're interested and want to get started right away, you can get in the schedule early and book your consult early. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye for now. And I hope, again, you had a lovely Mother's Day weekend. Bye for now. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR designed for wellness practitioners who value structure, simplicity, and calm growth. If you're a skilled wellness practitioner who's tired of tech overwhelm and administrative chaos, Jane understands. Your expertise should be focused on client transformation, not wrestling with software. Jane provides the structure and systems you need to run a sustainable practice. With Jane's streamlined online booking, your clients can easily schedule at times that work for them. With smart features like waitlist notifications, those last-minute cancellations become opportunities, not losses. It's a simple way to maintain consistent revenue without the constant hustle of filling your calendar. During sessions, Jane's AI-powered documentation helps you capture important notes, efficiently allowing you to stay present and focused on delivering exceptional care. After appointments, you can end on a healing note rather than a transactional one by charging cards on file and handling rebooking before the client leaves, creating the organized, professional experience your business deserves. To discover how Jane can help you build a more structured, scalable wellness practice that works even when you're offline, resting, use the link in the show notes. And especially for you, Ignite Your Wellness business listeners, when you're ready to implement the simple system that supports your growth, use code IGNITE1MO. So that's IGNITE1MO to get your first month complimentary. That code will also be in the show notes.